Yeah, hello everybody. Welcome to this evening. I still remember last Tuesday our good interim critique, and we are very excited to see your results tomorrow. But today we have two exciting surprises. The one surprise is that the founder of GMP, Volkwin Mark, received today one of the most famous medals in Hamburg for his work, being a town planner, being an architect, and even working on a very social basis. And this prize is called Bürgermeister-Stolten-Medaille, which has a tradition of 1925, and many very famous people from Hamburg, politicians, also entrepreneurs, received this medal, not every year. And Volkwin Mark was, or is, the first architect who is entering this very prestigious group. So Volkwin, really congratulations. You really are working since more than 50 years and even more, and I think that really summarizes your work and your engagement in Hamburg. And I know that in Hamburg they are very, let's say, very sensitive receiving medals and giving medals, but this is one of the two medals which are the most important ones. So congratulations, Volkwin Mark. Maybe when we have the wine, he can give more background information at our bar. Yeah, now we come to our guest from Austria, Markus Innauer. And it's an honor for me, Markus, that you first came, and he came by car, not by plane, to be safe. And yeah, Markus Innauer studied at the Hochschule für angewandte Kunst in Vienna, where I also went to school. So I know how incentively you worked in architecture. It's really a very good, like our class, so you are in a Meisterklasse with, let's say, 10 or 15 people, and you're really very deep with the professors. In this case, it was Zaha Hadid who is teaching there. And then you also went to the States for the UCLA in Los Angeles for a year. And after some periods of working at the Kaufmann office, who also is very famous for wooden buildings, you started your office with Mr. Matt. And I think it was 2012. Yes, and I will give you a secret. When our students and even our friends heard that you are coming to Hamburg, everybody was very happy. Why? This guy is coming, great. So we were quite astonished, because when we, for example, invited Mr. Dudler or Mr. Eberle, okay, great, he's coming. But when they heard your name, everybody was laughing and, wow, he's a very young shooting star. So we started your working, and then I know why everybody's now very keen to listen to your lecture, because you're very sensitive with architecture, with old and new, and almost all your buildings are somehow innovative, but also very without being too loud. So then I understood why all these students here, they were very happy you are coming to AAC. So thank you very much, Markus, and it's your term, and everybody's very curious about your work. Thank you.
Okay. Now it's working. Thank you. So yes, I'm Markus Innauer from Innauer Matt Architects. That's the place where we work and live. That's the Bregenzerwald. It's in the western part of Austria. Our office is behind the first mountain there, and we work in this small village here. And for us, it was a good decision to move there. I mean, we both grew up in this area, but we weren't sure after studying where we end up. But now we are there back again, and yeah, it's good to be there, and we like it a lot. There are a lot of things influencing our work, I would say. One is just very simple, our office. When we moved inside this space, 2012, it was the first work of Leopold Kaufmann. Leopold was the uncle of Hermann, and Hermann once said that he wanted to become an architect because of Leopold, because he makes these beautiful things and so on. And we are in this space. And at the beginning, for us, it was fascinating because it was his first work, how this space is through and through planned, really deep into detail, and that is also important for us. And yeah, that's what we also want to do every day there. And another point is that it was concepted as a photo studio in the 60s, and we just put our tables there and did nothing else. And that is also for us an important point concerning this ecological discussions about passive house, etc. If you plan it good with simple floor plans, then it lasts. For example, in this time, long. Another important point for us is our surrounding, the place where we work. Bregenzerwald is, I would say, almost famous for his craftsmanship, especially with wood, working with wood. And yeah, we are in the middle there, and we can I don't know, talk about details and so on a very personal and short way, and that makes us easier for. It's never easy, but easier, and yeah. In general, we have a good mixture there between these traditional things and also other progress, and yeah. So beginning till now, that was my diploma at the Angewandte, as you said before. It was the diploma project with Zaha Hadid. I was studying with her for 7 years, and yeah. Now we make these tables in the mountains, and that's the diploma. And yeah, how came that in that way? And yeah, I mean, we learned a lot of Zaha about conceptual working, following a strong idea, and generally the way of working. But now it's completely different context. These buildings we did during the study, most of them were out of context. We developed prototypes and things like that, and now it's completely different. And so the ideas behind are somehow the same, and the strategy and the concept, but yeah, the formal output is completely different. Just Sven's diploma, I also put it in. He was at the Technical University, and it's also different from what we do now. Yeah, we started we made the diploma 2009, and Sven did this small house on the left for his mother, and I won a competition for a restaurant together with an older architect of our area, and that was our kickoff to make the own office. Then the kids came, like it's always in life. It's always coming together a lot of things, and yeah, with us it was the same. So we founded the office and kids and where should we live and things like that. But Sven have 2 boys and I have 2 girls, and I think it's fine. It fits, yes. Yeah, and in our area, the typical first work is a single-family house. Yeah, fortunately, there are a lot of or some clients that trust young architects to make them their house, and even though it's some people say you know they ruin the landscape, the footprint is not so good of these houses. But yeah, for us it was the only possibility to start, and so we tried to make that as good as possible, and yeah, really intense, and we learned a lot, because if you after you study you make just one house completely with all the meetings and all things like that, you learn a lot. And we still do it, but less, I would say. We like to do small things as well. From a numbering system on the left top, a small house, or this small chapel, which I will explain more details later. We also like to do bigger things, for sure, and therefore we do competitions. We are not really specialized in kindergartens or offices. It's yeah, if it's interesting, we like to do it, and it's yeah. Fortunately, we won also some in the last years. One of them was the Pacha-Kofelbahn in Innsbruck. That was kind of, I would say, the first international competition we won, and from that point it turned and gets easier in a way to get invited and things like that. And I will show that one also because it fits to the topic we have here also tomorrow. Kunstraum in Kassel, our first project in Germany. I was at the site this morning, so they started building now, and yeah, it's also an interesting project for us. So in between, that's the topic of the lecture. So in daily work, we always feel that we are somehow between 2 poles, and our goal is to find the balance between these 2 extremes in a way, to find the medium, and that leads us to lasting architecture and yeah, high level of design if possible. Typical Begriffe for architects, autarky and context. We make a lot in the, yeah, I would say in the landscape at hills and mountains and so on. And so these are all autark objects then, and we try to integrate and to overcome the isolation as good as possible. I will explain that at the example of the house for Julia and Björn on the right later on. Care and serenity. Care means for us also this typical topics we have, careful design, function, detailing, integration in its environment, things like that. And we try to face them with a little bit, with a kind of serenity. Yeah, for example, that building on the right side, that's a renovation of a typical farming building in our area, and we don't want to overdraw the gutter there, and we also don't want to hide it in a way. It was just, we tried to make it how the circumstances are as good as possible in this way. Break and continuity. Yeah, we are from Vorarlberg. We don't. How can I say that? We are not the big. I don't find the word, but our work is more based on knowledge we have. It's this continuous, step-by-step forwarding of architecture, but for sure we also try to bring in our own style, our own Handschrift. And yeah, in general, it's pretty self-critical, the work we do, I would say. Pragmatism and passion. On the left side, that's I think it was the first competition we won. There are a lot of 200 apartments or so, and that was the first time we realized that it's not possible to make every detail how we want to make it. And so we saw that there are other things more important in a project like that, like, I don't know, the spaces between, how the people live together, and things like that. And yeah, and compared to that, the chapel on the right side, where yeah, where there's a lot of passion and also for no money and things like that. And that's the thing where we always try to find the balance. Okay, so the house for Julia in Björn, that was one of the first houses we did, and it shows how it's an autark building, but it shows how it can overcome the isolation on different levels. I tried to explain that. That's the site. It looks pretty nice from the first view, but it's not so easy to build. It's pretty, you see it down here. Yeah, it's pretty long and narrow, and on here and here there are two really beautiful trees, and yeah, that are kind of parameters to react. And the clients, he's a graphic designer, she's in fashion business, so for us it was clear that we don't want to make a kind of a farmer's house for them, a new interpretation of a farmer house. It should be more like these buildings, I don't know if it's the right word, a bourgeois, a Bürgerhaus, into that direction. And these have this kind of ornament and things like that. They are not so far away from the site. Yeah, the process was long and intense, like always with private clients in if it's their own house, single-family house, and it developed from here to this really open floor plan that stretches to these two trees with the covered terraces on both sides. We also tried to use the hill, the terrain, to deal with the terrain. That's also not so easy without the model. It's really important to make models for that. And yeah, because it shows the true if it's working or not. And yeah, we tried to use that for us. And so if you come inside the building, so the entrance is on the top floor, and there are, if you go to the next top floor, there is there are the rooms for the children and for elderly and garage and things like that, and the corridor separates it a little bit to the, because the Schwiegereltern are living up there, and that's things like that you have to react on. And there's this gallery to open the relatively small rooms to the top. The floor downstairs is pretty simple, organized again with this open space. There's an oven which separates this space. This oven, heated by wood, is actually the only heating we have, because these houses, they're so I don't know, 20 centimeters insulation, and in summer you don't need anything, and just in really cold days in winter there's this oven, and we made pipes which bring the warmth into the upper floor like in traditional houses 200 years ago. And luckily the client had his own wood, so we had a lot of wood to work with. And that allowed us this experiment with the facade. So we wanted more than just a protecting shell. The facade should be should be more like an ornament, more a little schmuck, and that makes this fine character in a way of this house. And if you cut the wood at the right moon sign, then you can use it for almost everything. I mean, we use their own wood for construction, for furniture, for windows, for almost everything. Also for the floor, that was the biggest discussion, because we wanted the floor completely raw. No oil, nothing, and that was really hard, but we won, and we got that floor. And what's really interesting is that now they really love this floor, because it's their own floor. You see all the bumps and things like that where the kids played or where the kids eat it. There it's a little bit there's a little bit dirt, and with the years it's getting really the first year is not so easy, but then it's getting better and better every year, and now that's their pride. They show first what they show is the floor. That's kitchen. And I think the house for Julia and Björn is a good example how you can connect an autark building on several levels to the surrounding, and it can stand only there. We had also some guys that called us and can you please send us the plans? We want to build it, I don't know where, in Hungary or so, but it's not possible. It works only here. The garden workshop, that was also special. The first project we made in our small village where we have our office. And the guy came to us and he sells a lot of decoration stuff and things like that. And we were first not sure, is that the right client for us? But it was. He was really open-minded, and we had actually a lot of fun with him. And the site is here, and as you can see, it's kind of like a circle surrounded. And so for us, it was clear that we need a house inside, because it's kind of a showroom, I would say. I mean, it's a shop that communicates to all sides. We don't want to have a B side of this building, and so we we just came up with this cross-shaped floor plan, which has no B-side, and the houses in the surrounding. In former times in our area, it was that the farmer houses, they had this typical gabled roof, and then the craftsmen's, they had more this cross-gabled roof. And in this area, there are still some of them, and so it was, for us, it was kind of clear that we also tried to make a cross-gabled roof. What we also did is we tried to make it out of only cutted wood, so no lime and things like that. And it wasn't easy to realize that because nobody is used to it anymore. So it started with the static construction and also with the carpenters. But it was a little bit difficult from time to time. But with Matt's Clay, probably you know it, a good office for wood constructions in our area. It was possible to make it, and then they made that whole thing in the hall, and transported it at one piece, because people, if it's prefabricated, it's easier to produce inside the hall, and then they just it was really a big action to move this thing to the side and then put it on top on one piece. And then it's finished. I think it's clear what these pictures say here. And the facade is out of fir, and in the inside, all the materials are also completely raw again, except the steel is oiled, but the floor is just concrete, and all the other stuff is completely raw. And also these connections and so on, it was not so easy, but it ended up really good and worked. The Alpine Chapel. The Alpine Chapel was for us, it's not a typical architectural project, I would say. It was more, it was really hard on a zwischenmenschlich, interpersonal Ebene. So that's a Vorsäß. That's a Vorsäß is an agglomeration of about, 10 to 15 buildings. And the Vorsäß is, the farmers go there. The farmers in winter, they are in the valley. In the summer, they are up in the Alps. And in spring and autumn, they are for grazing at the Vorsäß. So they have grass all the year. And every of these Vorsäßes have a chapel, or at least a cross or something, to praise their animals and so on. That was the chapel of this Vorsäß, Wirmboden. It was built by one of these farmers in the 80s without asking the others. And in 2012 or so, avalanche came and just blown away the chapel, and also one of these buildings were destroyed. And here you can just simply see why. here was the chapel he built in his own thing, and here's now the new site. So he just put it there because, you know, these are all farmers, so it's not easy between all of them, and he only was allowed to build it here, not inside here somewhere. And yeah, since he built it outside of this natural grown structure, yeah, it was just a matter of time. Yeah, and so they asked us, I don't know why, to design the new chapel, and we were full of enthusiasm and also a little bit full of naivety, I would say. We wanted to make a real hot architectural icon up there, and that was the first design with the inner shell of wood and then these collected stones outside here, and light from above, and a really clean, beautiful thing up there. And then we had, that was the presentation. We really made this mask and things like that, and we had a really good feeling first, like it's always, or mostly. But you see here the groups already of the farmers, so the one are pro and the other contra. And yeah, after a month or so, we heard nothing for 2 months or so. And then we heard rumors they want to build this bunker out of concrete up there, and that's not possible at Vienna. That's really not possible. Yeah, and so we had the decision, quit it or go down from the big horse of an architect, and we went down and made a redesign. So we made a wooden roof. We made a little bit of Vordach. I don't know what it's called. The roof, and it should be a little bit more easy for them to understand and a little bit more integrated up there. But the important part was we planned it in a way that they can build it by themselves. So every detail and things like that was planned that they can do it by themselves without machines and without third parties. And that was actually the key to get all of these guys. Yeah, and we had to drink a lot of alcohol with them as well. and yeah, luckily there were some guys, they knew how to deal with concrete, and the others knew how to deal with wood, and the others, they had to collect stones and things like that. And so yeah, we built that thing, and it got this kind of self-dynamic, you know. They wanted to show each other how good workers they are and things like that. And yeah, then they went to Innsbruck together to Gießen, die Glocke Gießen. Yeah, casting the bell. And yeah, it was a really team event up there. Here you see the guys again. Yeah, we still have the collected stones, but yeah, yeah, and we were also motivated. We even designed the key. Yeah, and to be honest, what's up there now? Afterwards, I have to say it fits better than our first design proposal, and somehow it fits better to especially when it's all gray, it fits better to this place. And yeah, we still have these things here. We put paper in the Schalung, that things like that, and it was really a good process for us as well, and we learned a lot. We still have the roof, the light from above, this skylight, and yeah, we don't want to make we don't wanted to make a tower for the bell, so it's integrated here from the inside and from the outside. Yeah, and it ended up really good, and most of the people are happy up there, and for us it was a interesting process. The Patschak-Hofelbahn in Innsbruck, I put that one in because it's completely different concerning landscape, hills, and buildings. Yeah, it consists of 3 buildings: the lower station, middle station, and the top station. Yeah, how to explain? I mean, building in the landscape or in the it's always Auseinandersetzung between the typology of the building and the topology of the landscape. And in this case, we wanted to create buildings that, because it's a cable car, we don't want it to cover something. We wanted to let this building technical buildings, and they should strike through his clarity and simplicity in the landscape, if I explained it right. So the concept is really simple. In the vertical, there is all the technical stuff, like the cable car and technical rooms and things like that, storage as well. And always in the horizontal, there are the spaces for the visitors. And the material concept is also the outside shell is out of concrete, and then a hard shell with different Bearbeitungen, and the inner space, these plugins, they are soft and out of wood. Yeah, we had the Stadt Innsbruck was our client, and it was really good. We made a lot of mock-ups and things like that. But we had not only friends there. That's also something we realized with bigger projects, that are not only friends there. And yeah, it was not so funny actually, but it was, in general, it was a hard project, because the winter, exactly in this winter, came too early, and we weren't the glazing wasn't inside and things like that. But yeah, we managed it. It's finished. That's the lower station. For us, it was important that the visitor had really simple orientation. Here's a restaurant, and here starts the cable car to the top. Yeah, you know that one from the chapel. We used it again here as a ceiling. The small one was the prototype. The middle station is the technical heart. Here's the engine, and here's also the garage for all these cabins. It's, I think, 80 cabins, which has to be, if it's closed, they are parked inside there, so you get a really big volume. Yeah. Engine. So our favorite station was the top station, for sure. And yeah, here you see how it's sitting in the landscape. It's pretty abstract, and through that the landscape should get more important. It's completely different approach to House for Julia and Björn also. And again, pretty clear orientation with here's the restaurant, the south part. At the north part there are offices and things like that. It's It's really nice up there, actually. If you are in Innsbruck once, you see to the Nordkette. Normally, all the tourists go up to the Nordkette, but they don't see the Nordkette. Then that's the problem, because it's really nice. So it's on the opposite side of the Nordkette. Ja, hier die Schneekanonen. Yeah, and even though we went really into detail as well, we made our own furniture system on the terrace and also on the inside, and that was really important for the project because the outer shell was really hard, and then you go into the inside, it's soft and detailed, and yeah, we have yeah, it was important also in the restaurant to create different spaces, different feelings inside, higher parts or lower parts, and that it's not one of these, big ski restaurants. Yeah. And we went there last winter, and for us it was really, we were really happy to see that it's the people like it. And also I spoke to the guy who has the restaurant here. 80% of the people are guests from Innsbruck, and so probably one of these guys from before are up there, and that was, for us it was important to see after the troubles at the beginning that it's really, yeah, people like it. And okay, the last project, it's in Kassel. It's at the Kunsthochschule Kassel. The Kunsthochschule, there's a really nice existing building, I think from the 60s, from Posinenske. And yeah, the existing building has a really clear structure, clear grid through the whole building, and the materials are direct and raw, and yeah, if I went there at the hearing, I really liked it. And the task of the competition was, so the wood around is the existing building, and the task was to make inside this courtyard an exhibition space for the university. It should be flexible, usable, so for exhibitions for sure, but also for lectures, for workshops and things like that. And we wanted to work with this, with the grid, and also with this direct and raw materials of the existing part. Yeah, here you see the floor plan. It's really just one space. You can open it to all four sides. The spaces of the outside have different qualities. A bigger one here, a smaller one here, with trees, and in the inside there are only these movable walls, which you can move completely along this grid. Yeah, and through that it's completely flexible. That was the rendering from the competition. Yeah, the lower part is, you can open completely, as you see in the floor plan. And then in the upper part, we made this. We thought in the competition it would be cool if we made just a 30 centimeter thick plate of wood, and then just screw in holes there and put glass things inside. And then we have the diffuse light from the top. If for competitions, you can completely close it on the bottom. Yeah, and then we won, and so we had to we had to think about it, how to make it. And that's from the outside. Now we have a little bit less of them because they are not so cheap. Here you see, now we have 49 per field. And yeah, we still hadn't the idea how to make these things. So that was the plan from the competition. We just said, okay, there's light coming and there's a reflector and then it goes inside. And there's only one piece of wood, 30 centimeters, and that's insulation and all. That's all. And yeah, and we were really surprised, but it worked. So we made these things, different forms, and then Glass Marti, a firm from our area, put that things together. So there's an insulation part also inside. It's a tube like this, and then you put it in one piece, and then just glue it and fix it, and we hope it will last forever. The prototype was mouth blown. That was easier to make, but now it's pressed because mouth blown. If we had 100 pieces, mouth blown was okay from the price. But if we have more than 100, then it changes to pressed glass. Yeah, that was the prototype, the mock-up. So here you see the no insulation, and yeah, the Hinterlüftung, so the air behind the facade. And here we tried these different types. Now we make the middle one. It's the most special and looks best. It's that one. And also in the inside, from opaque to other glasses, we tried different reflectors and things like that. And yeah, now these are in production, and in November the whole hall will be constructed, and then hope it looks good and it works. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Markus. First of all, I'm very happy that Zaha only was somehow teaching you at the Hochschule für angewandte Kunst, but after you left this university, you created your own style, seeing your diploma and what then followed. And I think all these works really will give a lot of input to our students. Also the small projects, even the small church, because we also have heritage small church on our side. But it's very nice how you not only showed us the architecture, but also the process. And I think that is something we can learn. It's really first of all, good concept, and then the simplicity, really to reduce and concentrate at the end on the detailing, on the materials, and that is very impressive. And even Pachakovel, I know this, I went there. Okay. I also went to the restaurant.
Okay.
And it's really, it's very brutal on a good way. It really has a very big strength against this roughness of nature and mountains and winter. But once you enter this very rough buildings, especially the last one, then you have this warm atmosphere of this guy there, this restaurant, this bar, very nice. And even the skiing boot cannot disturb anything, so quite good. Yeah, I know there are questions. Most of them come up on the bar, but are there any questions or comments by you?
Just one question. I wondered when you showed this funny house in your village, well, the guy with all this stuff he's selling, what was it on the roof? There was those points on the roof. Is this the fixation of the tile?
Snow doesn't slide on. That the snow doesn't slide.
Ah, okay, because they looked sort of decorative, and you couldn't see it in the other houses, but they were very...
Yeah, it's pretty steep. It's, I think, more than 45 degrees, and so we needed that. Yeah.
What triggered you to change your path from Zaha to regional architecture? What was it?
I don't know. I mean...
Awakening.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different time now. I'm on that's one point, and I think it's really important where you work and the context where you work and what are the professionals around you and things like that. We moved there, and then a guy called me, can you plan us our house? And then somehow, okay, would, because the guy you know from school, he's now the boss of the firm, and so you go to him, and it's, I don't know, it's yeah, and I mean this formal, it was too much formalism during our study, I would say. It was, at the beginning it was I mean, generally it was okay, but in the beginning it was better, and then it was, yeah, just give me something new, a new form and things like that, and put it in a rendering, in a perspective where it looks really good. And that was, somehow it was too less at the end of the study. At the beginning it was good, and also the concept, and so that was really good, but it was too much form in the end, and we wanted to make something more, something you can smell and feel, I would say.
Also, it's totally different dealing with the context.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
each project you showed, the most important thing you did is that you are very precise in looking for the situation where you are designing your buildings, dealing with the materials, also with the details and interpretation of old structures and all these things, and it's so fantastic and so totally in opposite to what you showed in the first image.
Yeah.
I found it also very interesting. You are the second architect during this workshop who, Florian Nagler, he was also telling us that he came back to his hometown.
Okay.
He loves to build this Langes house he built. He was grown up not far away from that, and that he loves to build more in an environment where he was growing up, or where he grew up. I found it very good coincidence that you did the same, and then with a friend, that you both went somewhere in the world, each of you to another part. And I was just looking now, I don't know, Bezau, you have your office there, are there 2,000 inhabitants? I was wondering, I mean, you do such good architecture, and Zumthor also is somewhere in the hills. How do you find the collaborators, the employees, young architects coming to you to work with you in your office?
That's I mean, we are not big, we are 8 people at the office, and I mean, the region has a big tradition concerning architects. I mean, a lot of them coming from this area, is it Bernardo Bada or Hermann or whatever, and there are a lot of young people also studying architecture, and compared to other valleys like this, a lot of them, they are coming back also. I think that's a big strange of Stärke of this this area, and yeah, but now we are also getting, I don't know, people from somewhere else and somewhere else. It's not a big problem to get.
As far as I remember, there were also programs to support the local craftsmanship. So they said all the public buildings have to use the regional knowledge. I think that helps too to build up something like that.
Yeah, sure.
The generation before you.
Yeah. I mean, there's a big sense for design and for architecture and craftsmanship as well, and that makes us easier.
Very good.
It's good to build for feeling. It's good to build self-understanding things, the language of forms. And I, in the way, a bit schizophrenic. For, doing this architect job, what we did, airports and fairgrounds and so on, skyscrapers, things like this. Then I fled and worked together with carpenters building ships and repairing big ships. And for years, I spent all my weekends with these people. They had no plan, but they had everything in their head, how to do it, and they knew everything about wood, about everything. It was so fascinating also to understand how wood works during the time and so on, especially in ships building. And then I had the luck. A school friend had a prefabricated little blockhouse in the mountains. And with my children and all my grandchildren, we went there and hired it. And in the end he said, well, you can't pay it. You can get it, pay it. And I got it. But it was a kind of Opel Manta, that was, how can you do it? And then I met a farmer in the valley, in Saalbach Hinterglemm, a farmer, Christian. And he was going to cut his trees, putting them on his place, Abund, preparing it to build on the middle station of a cable car, which was on his ground, the building for his parents, which became old, with a cow stable, with everything. And he did everything, and I was again so fascinated. Started, of course, with stones, went on with the wooden structure, and then he went on building the windows, building the door, even building the slot of the door, and the stove, of course, and everything. And everything was absolutely perfect in a very classical way, aesthetically. And could not be in a different way. And I was that fascinated that I said, well, you are the best professor. And I invited him to Aachen to come and to give a lecture. And the title was, One Man Builds One House. And he showed it, and nobody could believe it, without a plan, with anything. But he did it like tradition asked him, also in a very good taste. Well, and I think in future everything is ubiquitare, everywhere the same in the world, and the fashions fly around, and wherever you are, it's the same, and everybody thinks he's very original. And the best thing which can happen is to look around, to feel the context, to have these conflicts with the people if you keep your life. It's difficult. And it costs a lot of so much time, so time consuming, and normally you lose a lot of money. But these things I like both in all my practice. And I think what we have shown here is very close to what you have to design. Of course, not like he did, but very close to what is there. The taste of this to do it. And thank you so much. It's a really long way. I know how long this way is. And when I started to hear your lecture, then I said, what can you do with a man who's doing so much with wood? and little projects. And it's very funny. We got the idea, you know, everybody thinks we are only doing endless big things and technical things and so on. And we have made a book which has the title, Ich freue mich, wenn ich nach Hause komme. And there are quite different things. It's pure wood buildings, hard wooden buildings, compositions between steel and wood, even a ship. And that's the one I want to give you, just to thank you that you made this long journey. And I'm happy that he has a job in Kassel, you know. It's 300 kilometers away. Well, that's one. Building from him, from my partner.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
My real first building was a family house in 65.
Okay.
Good. So I would propose that we continue at the bar. And Markus, thank you. Always welcome coming to Hamburg again. Maybe we will come with the students to your atelier and look to some new projects. And yeah, I would say let's move. Thank you very much.